From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on August 19th, 2026 from South Carolina Public Radio Studios here in Columbia. On this episode of The Lede, we bring you highlights from the special U.S. Senate Republican primary runoff debate. Yeah, I was one of the moderators. You might have heard about some highlights from it, making the rounds. We have a little bit more context, a little bit longer clips, and more from that debate in today's podcast. That is the podcast. We will have a small wind down section. And if you want to be in our wind down section, you can call 803-563-7169. It's free. There's a small one-time payment of $99. But once you pay that, you can call as many times as you want. I'm just kidding. That's 18. He can't help it. We're in the same studio again.
Sorry, I forgot.
That's how funny I can be. 803-563-7169. Look, you're making AT laugh, guys. That sums up my week, my couple weeks. Yes.
We're leaving it in.
This was the final week of the special U.S. Senate Republican primary campaign to replace the late Senator Lindsey Graham on the November ballot. With the appointed Senator Darlene Graham and 5th District Congressman Ralph Norman in a dead sprint to the August 25th runoff after neither secured a majority on August 11th. The two candidates have been crisscrossing the state campaigning, and President Donald Trump is set to hold a rally for Graham in Myrtle Beach on Friday evening. Why Myrtle Beach?
You tell me.
Because it is home to the Republican stronghold of Horry County, the independent republic, which Graham came in second behind 7th District Congressman Russell Fry, who has since endorsed her. You're really not going to win this race unless you win Myrtle Beach, Horry County, and the Grand Strand in 7th District, especially if Congressman Ralph Norman has his iron grip up in the upstate. Also this week was the only runoff debate. It was held at the Newberry Opera House and moderated by Newsmax's Greta Van Susteren, as well as former SCGP Chairman Van Hipp and myself.
Wow.
Yeah, I just weaseled my way on that debate stage. You guys don't mind if I sit here, do you? Now, on this episode, we recap key moments from the debate ahead of that August 25th election, and we start with both candidates' opening statements.
I'm Ralph Norman. I'm from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Been a real estate developer for 40 years. I'm married to the same woman for 51 years, 4 children, 17 grandchildren, and I turned 40 back in June. And we're doing very well. It's such an honor to be here under unfortunate circumstances. Darlene, you were a good sister and he was a good brother. But that being said, I am anxious and I'm excited about what we can do for South Carolina. My differences aren't with Darlene or really any of the Republicans. Our differences in who we're fighting are the Socialist Democrats and the rhinos that go along with it. That's our real battle to save this country. It's not other Republicans. That being said, we have a task ahead of us, and the differences. I've got a proven record, folks. You can look me up. For 8 years I've been in Congress. I'm the most conservative member. You know how I'm going to vote. My resume is my record. And whether it's all the agencies that rate how you vote, I've been a taxpayer hero for as long as I can remember. Club for Growth, Heritage Foundation, the rating agencies, I'm conservative. What you see is what you get. The differences that I will point out, we have an unknown candidate. Who I am running against. What's clear and loud and clear, I'm not the candidate for the Washington mainstream.
Mr. Congressman, sir, I've got to call time. I have the unfortunate. I know that your shot clock is not working, so I'm going to have to call time on you, sir.
That's good.
Senator, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you, and it is quite a lively crowd tonight, but thank you for having me. And I want to begin by saying thank you for the prayers. It's been a difficult month for me and my family, so the prayers are very much appreciated. I also want to thank President Trump for his endorsement and other state and national leaders like Tim Scott and Russell Fry. I also want to thank Lindsay's staff because they have committed to staying with me, and they are the gold standard when it comes to providing constituent services. A little bit about me. Lindsay and I grew up in one room in the back of a bar and liquor store in central South Carolina, where my parents worked long, hard hours. That's where we learned a work ethic and the value of a dollar. For 30 years, I have served the people of South Carolina. For the past 7, I led a state agency. I turned it from a struggling agency into a national model. We had 130 employees and a $90 million budget. Because of that, I was elected president of a national organization for blind agencies. I was a member of the State Workforce Development Board. I served on that for several years. I'm a problem solver, a critical thinker, and a leader. I'm a volleyball mom. I love watching my daughter play volleyball, and I know that boys do not belong in girls' sports. They certainly don't belong in the girls' locker room. I'm pro-life. I was honored and excited today to get the Susan B. Anthony endorsement. That meant a lot to me. I strongly support the Second Amendment.
Senator, I'm going to do the same too that I had unfortunately have to do to the congressman. I have to cut you off for the 90 seconds so we get through the debate. I've now done this to both of you. So I'm going to go to the questions now, and I'm going to ask the first question. Congressman, I'm going to give it first to you. Gas prices are record high. Americans are pinched at the gas station. Half the country is living paycheck to paycheck. What can you do in the U.S. Senate to try to alleviate this economic pain for so many citizens?
First thing I'm going to do in the Senate is wake them up. Save America is my goal. Save America is my goal. SAVE Act should have been passed. It hasn't been. That being said, on lowering gas prices, we got to get the Straits of Hormuz opened. And the president has done a good job. He inherited a wreck with Joe Biden. So what he will have to do is move forward to making sure the war and the oil prices are low. I've got to make sure, and I will do as a businessman, go to the businesses, cut regulations, talk to exactly what is needed. Affordability is needed all over the country. And it's not happening in South Carolina. It's not happening, it's straining people all over the country. So with regulations and getting involved, I know what they go through from day one, and I will take the time to do that.
Senator, same question to you. Gas prices are record high. Americans are pinched at the grocery store, living paycheck to paycheck, half of America. So what can you do in the U.S. Senate to alleviate that pain?
Well, I know how that feels. There's 50 million people in South Carolina. Half of them live paycheck to paycheck. 60% of them don't have 3 months savings to get by. I've been there before. I've struggled too. I trust President Trump to get the Strait of Hormuz open. Iran is the weakest it's been in 47 years, but we cannot let them get a nuclear weapon. But I tell you who voted to increase the gas tax, and that's my opponent. And I can tell you that doesn't help people at the pump.
Next question goes to my colleague, Dan.
On the economy, Senator Graham, the national debt is approaching $40 trillion, and interest payments are consuming an increasingly large part of the federal budget. What significant area of federal spending would you be willing to cut or reform to put the country on a more sustainable fiscal path?
I think President Trump has already done a great job cutting spending. He's cut a lot of fraud, but I think there's more fraud to be cut. When I worked in state government, one of the things I focused on was duplication of services. I worked to cut duplication of services to save taxpayers' dollars. I think there's more duplication going on in the federal government that we can work on cutting. So I think we need to identify more fraud, wasteful spending, and duplication of services.
Right. Congressman Norman, same question. What areas of federal spending would you be willing to cut or reform?
Well, the cancer in America is overspending. The fact is, we don't cut anything in Congress. I've been a lone wolf, lone voice for cutting. The DOGE Commission identified over $100 billion, and we only had $9 billion in cuts because politicians, both Democrat and Republican, cannot cut. You got to live within your means. And we're facing a crisis not just on the national level, at every single agency. The Highway Trust Fund, Social Security is going to run out at the end of, actually before the end of the 6-year term that I'll serve in the Senate. So it's cutting spending, it's identifying the waste, fraud, and abuse, and that we already know, but we hadn't had the courage to do it as a body, and that's what I will be a voice for doing that and singling out exactly what items needed to be cut and bring it back to South Carolinians and to the people all over the country.
Gavin, you have the next question on the economy.
Hey, Congressman, back to you talking about Social Security. If you can elaborate on that. 1.1 million South Carolinians rely on Social Security, but like you said, the program faces a significant financial shortfall and insolvency in 6 years. At that point, the law requires a 22% cut. Do we keep Social Security? How do you fix it? And please be specific.
No, we can't keep it as the way it is. Again, it's kind of like the cuts. We just hadn't had the courage to tackle Social Security because we have worthless notes that it's not like the money that is the taxpayers that's accumulating for them to spend. And to say to face a 25% cut is outrageous. It ought to infuriate every American. What we will do is put up concrete bills that will let Americans spend more of their own money. And the politicians simply have not been willing to do that. The Americans are perfectly capable of spending their own money. Money is one thing. The other thing is just calling it out for what it is. There are people that have a Social Security number that aren't even living. That's part of the waste, fraud, and the abuse that is taking advantage of the system. We'll have the courage to call it out and to try to get this system solvent.
Senator Graham, to you, talking about Social Security, how you would save it.
Social Security was put in place to protect our elderly from living in poverty. So we have to keep Social Security. Lindsay and I relied on Social Security when our parents died when we were younger. So Social Security is important. I have an aunt who's 90-something years old. She relies on Social Security. At the agency I worked at, one of the ways we did it is we helped train individuals who are blind or low vision go to work. Our successful employment rates were trending up each year. What that meant is they were no longer relying on the government, on Social Security disability insurance and SSI, so they were less reliant on the government and earning wages to support their families. So the more programs we have like that, and also cutting fraud and waste.
Yeah, okay, you, Senator. President Trump signed a 60-day deadline for ending the war with Iran and reaching an accord on its nuclear program. That deadline passed on Monday. Do you support continuing this war with Iran? You have both voted against a war powers resolution containing the president. So what does victory look like? What is a win for you when it comes to Iran?
You know, I fully trust President Trump when it comes to the war in Iran. 47 years this has been going on. Iran is the weakest they have been in 47 years. The one thing that concerns me is we cannot let them get a nuclear weapon. So I trust President Trump and everything he's doing. I think he's got this, and I trust him on it.
Congressman, what does a win look like in Iran for us?
A win looks like, he took them out militarily. As far as getting a nuclear weapon, where you had, Obama paying cash bribes in the middle of the night. So he did the job to take them out. They were a severe threat, and he had the courage to do that. Now, I think that we've got to end it. I think he's going to have to tell the American people what's it going to take if the Straits of Hormuz are still dominated by a country that's supposed to be decimated. We got to have some understanding on that, because I'm not for endless wars. You win them and you get out. And so I think once he explains that as what's going to have to be done.
Let me follow up on that, Congressman. So what would you recommend to the president that he do?
Well, I think he needs to, he sees what's happening in Congress. It's codified. If you put boots on the ground after 60 days, you have to get approval from Congress. He doesn't have the approval. The Democrats hate him for anything he does, so he can't get approval from Congress. But I think he just needs to, if it's more air power, if it's more taking out whoever the lunatics are that are running the country. Now, what makes it difficult is they have no regard for human life. I mean, they made the comment that they will outlast this President Trump. And so, how are they able to do that? So that he's going to have to go ahead and do whatever it takes to get them out.
Senator, how would you answer that? What would you tell the president to do?
Well, he's already decimated the leadership over there. I think he's doing a great job. The Strait of Hormuz, obviously, is not open yet, but I think it will be. Again, I trust him to do what he can to end the war in Iran. Again, they're the weakest they've been in 47 years. I know they're still dangerous, but his goal is to make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon. We cannot let these people get a nuclear weapon. So I think we have to pay a little bit now, but ultimately in the end game, if we prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon, which is his goal, I think he'll be successful, and our country will be much better off.
Senator, are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States? If so, why?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States, and if so, why or how?
I'm just going to be honest here. I'm not on national security. I'm not that informed on national security, but I do support the military. My brother was in the Air Force for 33 years, so I will do everything I can to support the military. My dad was in the Army. I'm not a polished politician up here. National security is not my thing, not my area of expertise, but I do support the military.
Congressman, I'll give you a chance to respond, and I'm sure he recognizes that.
Taiwan's a definite ally. And, we have a trading relationship with them that is beneficial to the United States, chips being one of them, and others. So what the president is doing right is he's enabling Taiwan to defend themselves against China. But it's peace through strength that he's showing with Iran that China, Russia, others are looking at it so that they don't want to deal with America, and that's why they haven't attacked Taiwan. If they had some weak Democrat in office like Biden or another Obama, yeah, they'd take it over. But we can't let that happen. We got to take a strong, a peace through strength is working.
We're going to turn to artificial intelligence. Gavin, you had the first question on whether to regulate or not.
Yeah, that goes to Congressman Ralph Norman talking about AI. There are currently no regulations on AI. It's truly the Wild West. Is AI too powerful to be left to companies to regulate at this time? Absolutely,
it's too powerful. Anybody who has grandchildren, when what you see on TV and the dangers that it has when they can make images exactly and imitate your voice. Now, it's going to be tough to do because the internet is unregulated anyway for the most part, and government hadn't been able to do it. It doesn't mean you stop trying, but yeah, you try to regulate what you can and find out what you can so that it's used in a good way instead of hurting American children and Americans in general.
Senator Graham, regulating AI.
AI is definitely out of control. There have been so many nightmare stories and situations. There have been situations to where AI has gotten out of control and hacked into businesses and taking over accounts and systems. This is very concerning. AI is growing smarter and smarter. So there has to be some federal bans put on this. We have to step in and get control of AI. It's against China, but AI itself is becoming smarter. So I'm very concerned. It's a scary situation. I'm personally very scared of AI.
Van, you have a question on artificial intelligence?
Yes. Senator Graham, multiple South Carolina counties, Colleton, Newberry, Greenwood, and others, have passed or are advancing moratoriums on AI data centers because of concerns about the power grid, water and ratepayer bills, and so forth. President Trump and his administration, however, views AI data centers as a top national security priority in the AI race versus China. As a senator, where would you come out on this, and how do you balance the state and the federal interest?
Well, we were just talking about how dangerous AI is, how China is leading in this. So we can't let China beat us in this AI battle. That's a national security issue. It becomes very concerning to me. So when it comes to data centers, I think it needs to be heavily involved by the communities. There needs to be guardrails in place, regulations in place. But again, we have to have data centers because we can't let China win in this AI battle. But the way to do it is to put guidelines on these companies to where they have to build their own water and power supplies, or either subsidize utilities so that the rates decrease, not increase. So again, it's more about community involvement. It's about having a transparent framework in place to protect the environment. So it's putting the guidelines and guardrails in place for communities, and they should decide.
Congressman Norman.
Yeah, but you changed your position because you originally said you were for just data centers in general. That's what you said. Here's where I stand on this. I believe in the 10th Amendment, states' rights. I think that for that data center that's being built, where it causes diminution in value of homes around it, the community is going to have to take ownership and use what they can and find out what's the water usage do for their community. What is the electricity needs? The big thing I will do is not let the politicians in local communities or advocate for them not to give the farm away and not to have incentives for these data companies. Let them pay their own way, and if it has a return on investment for them, but it's got to have a return on investment for the community, and they've had a free ride. So I will call attention to it, and I will we'll do whatever it takes to educate the public on what's going on.
Senator, do you want to respond to the comment he made about you?
Yes, I do. Obviously, I just said I'm for data centers, but I also said that there needs to be community involvement, community guidelines, community guardrails. Maybe you didn't hear that part. But what about SILFAB, that you negotiated a deal in your backyard where a company that mixes chemicals was built near several schools, and I believe one school has been shut down because there was a leakage into the groundwater near the school.
Silly season again. Silly season again. This was a company that took over a vacant building. The school was already in process. Henry McMaster and his group gave them money. They approved it. So that's just not true. All that stuff that's put out was not true. But it's something that is not an issue now. Those community did the right thing to sue them. It'll end up in the courts. It's actually more of a zoning issue that they are operating a business that maybe didn't fit the zoning. I'm not on the county council. I'm not on the city council. I didn't approve any funding that they got.
Senator,
can I rebut that? Do I get a rebuttal to that? Okay. Well, okay. Let's say that you didn't negotiate the deal. It was up to the county council. I don't necessarily believe that. But you did take money from the lobbyist for SILFAB, thousands of dollars from SEIA, that's a lobbying group for SILFAB.
There again, it's silly season again. The lobbying group, SILFAB was one out of, they had hundreds of clients. Solar panels I've investigated because I'd rather get it from the sun than I had from buying it from one of the companies. So again, that's a misinterpretation. It's
all right, let's move on. Let me ask.
First of all, it's a privilege being here. I wish we had another debate like this. We had one tomorrow. You canceled it. You didn't want to come. All that to say is that. We're at a turning point in America. We're in a turning point where the Democrat socialists are taking it over. We've got to stop it. Again, I mentioned the fact where her money's coming from. The Main Street Washington is with her. They're not with me, nor do I want them. I've never been subservient to anything in Washington. Washington is broken. Look, I will use whatever I can to break the filibuster. I will make sure that the Senate wakes up and votes on the SAVE Act. But other than that, we're going to call them out for what they're doing to this country. Faith, family, and freedom are what the Democrats are against. The people supporting you are against that, and we have to stop that. I will recruit more solid business people to run, and I'll put South Carolina first.
Closing remarks, please.
Yes. First of all, I'd rather be out in South Carolina meeting the voters than here on this stage with you. But fact is, I've done more in 20 days than you have done in 20 years. I did a lot of research to try to find out exactly what you have done. You named a post office, so good job. That's all I can find out that you've done. And we have spent $1.7 million on your salary for the past 10 years, and you named a post office. So, yeah, I've done, again, more in 20 days. I've got the Russia sanctions bill passed. I've co-sponsored the Save America Act. I've co-signed 7 anti-abortion bills. I was the deciding vote in President Trump's AG pick, Todd Blanche. So again, more in 20 days than you have done in literally 20 years. And I think you're confused because I don't know if you want to be in South Carolina or Washington, because you said you wanted to go to Washington to clean up the swamp. Then you wanted to come back to South Carolina to run for governor. Now you want to go back to Washington again to clean up the swamp. So what is it you want to do?
Congressman, more than 40 million acres of farmland in the United States is owned by foreign entities, according to the Department of Agriculture. Chinese investments amount to less than 1%. What does Congress need to do to restrict our adversaries from owning American land and our resources?
Yeah, what South Carolina needs to do is find the land that's owned by China, and they either get it back or make it so hard so they can't develop it. You don't put up with that. They bought land in Columbia that is near our military institutions. You stop that. Same thing on the Confucius Institute, where they had colleges were letting Chinese students come in under the guise of majoring in one major and then switching to get our secrets. And they sent the brightest and the sharpest over here. You got to stop that. I called them out. Guess what? 2 were guilty of it. U.S., Carolina, and Presbyterian College, my alma mater. I called them out. Guess who called me? The lobbyists. We're making all this money. I said, yeah, but you're giving the country away. And they changed it, but we have to be aware of that and stop it, and not let them form these LLCs where they buy it and then move forward. And I'll tell you, TikTok, you hadn't heard it yet, but TikTok is still controlled by China. We would never be able to have a TikTok into China as they're into our country.
Time.
Senator Graham.
I think China is destroying our businesses. So President Trump has been the strongest president we've had against China. It's kind of scary. They have bought up too much farmland. The military base he's talking about is Shaw Air Force Base. They bought farmland right next to Shaw. They're interfering with our food supply chain. That's a national security threat. The AI, and they're becoming leaders in the AI industry. This is dangerous for our children, interfering with AI and businesses. There have been instances where her children are committing suicide because of AI. So we cannot let China win. We have to continue to fight against China. I would support a federal ban to prevent them from buying farmland, because we cannot let China win.
You can find that full debate, our live election night coverage on August 25th, and other events at youtube.com/SCETV News. We'll have the Trump rally there. We have a lot of stuff, a lot of fun things, and an explainer that I cut this week that was pretty fun, a little edgy, all on youtube.com/SCETV News. Welcome to the Wind Down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here, along with A.T. Shire, lead podcast producer.
Hello, folks. Gavin is earlier. He's allowing me to speak. Unfortunately, you heard him earlier.
So you already know he's here.
Yeah. So I don't even have to introduce him. You heard him earlier.
You've been in Rock Hill today.
Oh, I've been to Rock Hill and back. The story is
Rock Hill and back.
Tale as old as time. I think that's what Lord of the Rings was about, really.
You need to read, and I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you need to read Scott Huffman, our friend Scott Huffman, Winthrop University political science professor Scott Huffman. He has a Substack now that he's doing. He's sending out emails, and he's leading a lot of these off with like his hot takes incorporated with Tolkien and Lord of the Rings.
Perfect for me.
So I mean, it's right there for you.
That is in my Q zone exactly. Anyway, also in my Q zone, Gavin, is calls from listeners and distinguished listeners. Okay, folks.
This voice.
Yeah. It's the pimply kid from Simpsons.
We're doing
a lot of Krusty before this, folks. Anyway, Gavin, let's get to it. Old friend, longtime listener, longtime caller.
Oh, wonderful.
Hey, this is Mark from Greenville.
I wanted to thank you all for your ongoing great reporting, helping us figure out the primary elections and the special elections. This is the first year that I've been a poll worker, poll manager. So I'm getting a crash course in how to do elections. And I'll tell you, we do them really well here in South Carolina. So pretty excited about that. But I have a really important question that relates directly with poll working is you're in there from 6 a.m. until at least 8 p.m. You don't leave. Didn't realize that at the time. It totally makes sense from an organizational perspective, but you have to eat. So I have a sandwich question for you all and for anyone else that's listening. The first voting day, I tried to recreate a Sam's Italian sandwich from my hometown in Lewiston, Maine. You know, the ham, tomato, onion, green peppers, pickles, salt, oil, cheese on an Italian roll. That I tried to do. Those in school, those were the best. You get them in the morning, let it kind of marinate to lunch, and then eat them. The Harris Teeter version was good. It was a little bit too drippy. And when you're in the same room from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., it's kind of unsightly to have oil stains on your clothes. So that didn't totally work. The second voting day, I made a sandwich from home, and that seemed to work well, which surprised me. But then, you know, for the special election, I decided to go big. So I went back to Harris Teeter, and I got the Harris Teeter Club with Dijon horseradish sauce. Man, you don't have to go to a gym if you have this thing. There's so much meat in it. It was a huge sandwich with 3 different kinds of meat and cheeses and some tomato and onion and all. And it was just too much. Even it turns out a quarter of the sandwich was enough for a meal. So just wondering what would you guys think? And you know, I wish I could get a whoopie pie. I'm not able to do that. But what kind of sandwich or food would you bring that would be good? You're not guaranteed to have a fridge, and you're there for 15 hours, and so you have to make at least one meal and probably 2 out of it. Yeah, thanks for all the work you're doing. Thanks for keeping us all informed, and I really appreciate your input into this crucial question about sandwiches.
Mark, you came to the right place.
Yeah, straight up. This is the right kind of call, folks.
Thank you for being a poll worker and sacrificing 6 to 8. That's intense.
That's crazy. Keeping the scrolls. I'm sure you divined
On top of that, yeah.
Divined this through your interpretations of the scrolls that we needed this call. Thank you. How do you thread this needle of shelf stability plus it needs to be at least 2 meals?
Yeah.
That's difficult.
Well, I think what I would do in this situation would maybe be like get an actual loaf of bread, like some artisanal bread, hollow it out, right? Wow. And then get like the big sandwich.
Farm to table.
Already like get it made, put in the fridge overnight with like the brick on top of it, squish it down. And then you bring it with you. Like it's a full heavy duty sandwich here. And then you're going to put it in a cooler or bag. You're going to have to bring some ice packs if we want to go past lunch with something perishable at that stage.
For me personally, like ahead of time, I'm like, okay, this is going to be 2 meals for me separated by hours.
Yeah.
I'm eating that pretty quickly, probably. I'm eating it all.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. It's like a road trip. You already eat all the snacks.
It's like, you ate all your popcorn and drank all your soda before the movie begins.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, and this also calls for me. I know you have to be there around 6, but you need to get up a little bit earlier and then just like house some oatmeal, like your steel cut oats. Like that keeps you going for a while. Oats. This is like my endurance eating through like meals when I have to be, I can't do anything else all day.
This is in the feed bag right now, folks. His current feed bag.
We can talk about certain feed bags that have not been working. Either your banana, your apple, like that kind of stuff to get you through till your lunch, that big sandwich. And then maybe, we haven't talked about this, but maybe what you do for like your early dinner or essentially your dinner or that late lunch would be some sort of pasta salad that
that
you could just
filling.
keep, and it's filling, and it's also, it can get warm. Like,
I don't know. It's like,
it's just tomato sauce and pasta.
Oh, that's true. I guess.
Like if we do that, you know.
Not a mayo-y one.
No.
Yeah.
Never. Even if it wasn't for this. Like I do an Italian dressing and some like cucumbers and tomatoes. You know, my go-to for emergency days is like 2 sausage biscuits from Bojangles. And I don't know where I was. It was a long day, but you know, the advantage of it being summertime is like if you want your hot coffee, which I know not everyone's drinking hot coffee in the summertime, it's going to stay hot all day in your car while it's cooking.
Keep it in the car.
Same thing with the sausage biscuit. I was like, I can leave this other one in here and come back. Right. It was at Joint Base Charleston.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can leave this here. I know it's going to stay warm all day.
It's going to be at least 120 degrees.
So I'm going to come back and it'll be good to go. So strategic eating has definitely been my wheelhouse. But one not so strategic thing that I've been doing is eating. Well, it is good to eat more fiber, but sure. I've taken my friend Mary Green's advice to try this dino kale that's at Whole Foods. And I think paired with the black beans and the other kale and chicken, something's happening to me.
Yeah.
And
things are moving.
I don't think it's the parasite, but I think this is as close to the lettuce parasite that I can get.
This is not what you do when you're working the polls, okay?
Do not eat
this is the
combination of
food.
food.
This is a forewarning to listeners.
And I'm like, oh my God, okay. Like, we're going to hang on here until we find a safe space. And I've been fortunate, and then I might have had some more today. I don't know why. It was still in the fridge at work. I was like, I can probably go through this. And
I'll be good today.
Today, hopefully, because then I got to be at the Trump rally all day tomorrow.
I got all the problems out. Now I'm going to be okay, though. Yeah.
I'm like, maybe this time my body will get used to it. But also,
listen to the honesty, folks.
You suggested tinned fish as a possibility.
Tinned fish is room temp.
It is.
But, Gavin, you have another warning.
You got to do that outside. You got to do it away from people. Talk about not wanting to spill it on yourself. You're going to smell like fish if you do. So, and if you dispose of it, make sure it's not in the same room as people. So.
We say all this to say,
granola
Mark,
bars.
Probably 4 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Bring 4.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's shelf stable. Make one a fluff and peanut butter one just for fun. That's your dessert. I'm not sure. Or
vegetables,
just
fruits.
Risk it with an Italian combo solves so much.
And that Harris Teeter Club sounded incredible, by the way. So I think what you could do there is if you have a little freezer bag with some ice packs in it, that will last the day. Eat half of it at lunch and then eat the other half the rest of the day throughout the day. I mean, if you have a little cooler bag, you're fine.
If you are in Greenville, there is a hoagie place, though. Maybe DoorDash is the answer.
Ooh.
Harry's Hoagies in Greenville, legit. Birds fans, big Eagles stuff everywhere. I got profiled. That's where I got profiled as being from New Jersey.
Yeah,
and they were correct. So you can't hate. You know, they hit the nail on the head.
Another staple for my endurance eating days is just a plain bagel.
Oh, plain bagel hits, dude.
It's there.
Yeah.
If you need it,
really good.
And a banana, like honestly, the bees really come through for me too.
You got yeah.
And or a cheese stick too, but those aren't necessarily shelf stable. But then the Celsius, that offsets the hunger too.
Yeah, the idea
and
of
a pack of cigarettes.
Us eating shelf stable Lunchables back in the day, that's scary to me, folks. Yes. I don't like that. Also, now seeing kids stuff, there's shelf stable yogurt snacks.
Before we dip out,
I can't. The idea of it, I'm like, the science behind this is evil.
I hate to admit this, but I'm going to because we love it.
Please,
I don't know. I just feel like I had just worked out. I didn't have any time to go home to eat. And I was on the run. Something was going on. I
can't wait.
I was at Publix. So walking through the dairy aisle. And they had those Chobani, drinkable yogurts. Let's just call it what
it's a Go-Gurt. It's an adult Go-Gurt.
But it's like from publicity.
Yeah.
It's yogurt where I love it.
Yeah. You're drinking the culture. Yeah.
I was like, looking at the ingredients, I'm like, what is exactly the difference here between a cup of yogurt versus the drinkable yogurt? I think they just put more liquid in it because you're just truly drinking it. I didn't have time to get a spoon out. But I hate to admit it wasn't the worst thing, but I would not want to do it in front of people, and I was hesitant to even tell you about it. But
it's gauche.
It's on the go.
Yogurt.
2 for $6. I was like, ugh.
I'm just squeeze my nourishment into my mouth while I run.
On a hot day in the summer. Give me some dairy, please.
Anyway, folks, Gavin's bared his soul and other things to us. Give us the outro. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on what Mark should be consuming. Also, I know it's tempting probably to eat the donuts too, but you're going to want all the donuts. So 803-563-7169, that's how you can give us some hot tips on your endurance eating for long days away from refrigeration. Stay up to date with the latest news on SCETV.org and SouthCarolinaPublicRadio.org, and don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lead is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lead, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina. Don't touch my groceries.
I brought them.
I went to Trader Joe's. Have you been there?
You buy like
things,
adult
trinkets.
Lunchables there.
No, I do my entire shop there.
I hate that.